Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. We're going to be looking at the sketcher improvements in FreeCAD 0.22, which is currently in development, and you can download that from the weekly builds if you want to try the latest version of FreeCAD that's currently being developed. I do have a video on my site of how to install and run the dev versions for both Windows and Linux systems. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and let's have a look at the new version in 0.22. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. So we're in FreeCAD, and I'm in version 0.22.0 of the dev versions of the weekly builds. So we're just going to go over in the sketcher, from that drop down at Sketcher Workbench. I'm going to create a new sketch. I've already created a new document and go along the XY plane. You will see some differences in here. So we've got the construction mode, the icon has changed, and we've got some additional constraints in here that I'm going to go through. But first of all, I'm going to come over to the rectangle. And I'm going to click once somewhere on this screen. So I'm going to come over here and click once here. You notice that we have two fields that have appeared on screen. This is the width and height of this rectangle. And I've just clicked once. I've dropped the points down here and moving over to the right hand side. You can see those are changing. The good thing about this is that we can type in, say, 50 for the length, hit tab, and we've created this 50 length here. Now I've hit the tab and now we're adjusting the height. So you can see the height is adjusting here. So I can set this as 30. Now if I hit tab again, I've created a 50 by 30 rectangle in there. So you're going to hit escape and just highlight this and hit delete. Let's do that again. So I'm going to create a rectangle. I'm going to click once and you notice that the length is highlighted. So I can hit 50 on the length, hit tab, and then I can adjust my height freehand if I wanted to, or just type in 50 and hit tab. So that is dimensioning on the go. And as you can see, I can do it freehand, or I can use the tab to set the dimensions of what I want. This is the same for all the shapes. So let's highlight those and hit delete. Let's go for a circle and click once, and you can see I can type in the radius there. So let's go for 60 on the radius and hit enter. So we've got 60 on the radius there. And click and start moving out, and let's type in 20 and hit enter, and then we have a 20mm radius circle. So that's dimensioning on the go. Now the dimension on the go can be adjusted from the preferences. So let's close that, come up to edit and preferences, and this is on the sketcher preferences down here. Click on that, and we've got this tool parameters, the on view parameters, and we've got only dimensions, all, or disabled. So let's go for all and hit OK. It was only dimensions before. Double click on that sketch and see what we get this time. So I've clicked on the rectangle tool, and you can see straight away we've got dimensions coming in without me actually clicking on the screen. So I can set this to 20, tab over, and it moves it and dimensions straight away to this center point. So go 20 and 20 and tab again, and now I start getting in this rectangle, which is the actual dimensions of the rectangle. So we've got position and dimensions with all. So let's tab, do 20, and let's do tab again for 40 and hit enter. So we've got this in there. So this allows you to dimension do a circle, and we can say set this to 0 and 0 to place it in the center, and do a radius of, let's say, 30, and hit enter. So you can see straight away we've got dimension on the go. This is quite common in certain mainstream CAD packages, and this is now coming to FreeCAD. You can come up to edit, back to preferences, Sketcher, general, on view parameters, and I'm going to set mine back to only dimensions. And hit OK. Let's escape that and close the sketch. So we've got that sketch in there. Let's delete that and move on to the next feature. Let's create a new sketch. Now, if we look on the top, we have this new dimension in here, which is a contextual based dimension. So this is contextual dimensioning. And if we hover over that, you can cycle through them using the M key. So the M key is being used more and more in FreeCAD. And before, the M key was used for the polyline. So you can see G and M there. So M cycles the mode, so M for mode. So if I click once on the polyline and bring this out and click again, and now if I start using M, you can see I'm cycling through different modes on that polyline. So straight line, a line that goes at a right angle, and then we've got the tangent arc there, and you can see the types of arcs we can get and the different modes we can get by using the M. So this is coming to dimension now. Let's hit the right mouse button to cancel that, and right mouse again. So if that's coming to these constraints, let's create a constraint in here. So I'm just going to take a rectangle, and another rectangle down here, and let's use some circles in here. So I'm going to create some constraints against these. Let's put a slot in here as well. Right mouse button to get the pointer back, and I'm going to use this dimensioning, the contextual based dimensioning, and click that. Now if I come in, I can click on this circle and it automatically places the diameter in there. And we can hit OK. Let's come over to here and place a dimension across this line and click that. So straight away you can see we've got a dimension in there straight away along that line. So I don't have to change over to the length, height, etc. constraints in here. I can just use this tool to dimensions what I want. So let's put a height in here against this one, bring this one out and type in whatever we want. At the moment it's 81, let's set this to 75. And it's a real quick way of dimensioning. So if I take this point, you see how I dimension from that point to the center point there. And we can go from the height, bring this around this way, and it will flip around as I move to the right. And this is the length. Hit OK. Let's do that again. So this point, and set some height in here, or even the distance going this way. So that sets some height in here just by moving this around. Hit OK. The same with this one, this point here. So you can see, click on that point, and we've got that length coming in there, the height or the horizontal length here, vertical length or diagonal length. If I hit M, I change that. So I get a horizontal and vertical length just by hitting M. Let's hit M again. And you can see you've got one length, M, I have the two lengths there. Let's click. And that's set this at 60, hit enter, and then we get the next one, which is the 42 for the height. So I'm going to set that to 40. So let's do that for this one. So click on this point, distance, horizontal length, hit M for mic on the keyboard, and now we get the two lengths in there. So if I hit M again, single length, those different modes, M again for the two lengths, And when we click, we can enter horizontal length, hit enter, and vertical length. So that's the position of that point away from that center point. And it's quite easy to dimension as we go. So I can quickly dimension this one just by clicking, using that tool. So 50. And what I'm going to do is hit escape, take this horizontal constraint and delete it. So I'm working on this one now. And we use that contextual dimension in, or the dimension there. And we'll click on that one. And you can see this is saying it's 50, which we don't need. So let's get rid of this one here and delete that. Use dimension in. I can click it and then click the dimension as you saw there. So I can click that line and we have that option there, click that dimension in. And if I hit M on the keyboard, you can see we get a horizontal constraint. If I hit M again, we got the vertical constraint. M again, we got this constraint here, which is the block constraint. So we can cycle through those constraints there. Okay, so let's use this arc here. So I've still got the dimensioning tool activated. Use this arc. You can see that there. Let's take this one off and hit delete. So I'm not making redundant constraints. Let's take this one off as well, hit delete. And use that tool there and use this arc. So we've got a radius, hit M for diameter, hit M again, and we get this new one that comes around here. So if you look at this, everything's gone orange at the moment. Don't worry about that. So we've got this arc that goes around here. Now this is an angle constraint. If I click, I can set the angle and OK. And an angle constraint can't be used against this arc. There was no point in it, so it's just removed that redundant constraint there. Let's click on that again. Radius, diameter, angle, hit M again, and we're back to radius. If I want to cancel it, then I right click or hit escape to cancel the tool. So with the arcs, let's just create an arc in here. Something like that. So we've got this arc here. Now if I place a radius against this, let's hit escape or right mouse button and click the arc, and that's use the radius, constraint radius. So we've got this radius in here, so you can see that there. Now sometimes if this radius was quite large, let's set this to something like 1000, so you can see how far away that is. And we was working with an arc that was quite small, let's say something like this. It can be hard sometimes to figure out where the center point of this arc is if we had a lot of geometry on here. So we can take the arc and look up to the top here. We've got this little tool here, which is show hide circular helpers for arcs. We click on that. You can see we've got this green circle that shows the circle of the arc and the occupying space of that arc along that circle. Makes it easier to find out where the center point is when you have a lot of geometry on there. And we can just turn that off from the toolbar, just here, or the sketch of visuals, and show hide circular helper for arcs. Let's go on to lines now. So I'm going to delete those and add some lines and polylines in here. So there is a new constraint that's been added. So we'll add some lines, and also I'm going to add a square just in here. And I'm going to take these constraints off. So I'm going to select them all and hit delete. So remove those constraints from there. So we look towards the toolbar, we have this cross constraint, this one here, which is horizontal vertical. So it constrains a single line to either horizontal or vertical, whichever's closest. So that's just skew these a bit as well and bring this one over. And we'll bring this one over here. So let's use that constraint. Click on that constraint and we can see we've got the crosshairs there. And we'll just click on this one. We'll get the horizontal constraint and we click on this one and we're going to get a horizontal constraint, and let's take this, we get the vertical, this will get the vertical because it's nearer to the vertical, this one's nearer to the horizontal, and this one's nearer to the horizontal. So again, straight away, a much quicker way of constraining when you have line-based shapes like this, like polylines, rectangles, triangles, etc., to allow you to quickly constrain these to the horizontal or vertical. And let's place a couple of lines in, so this line here and this line here. Now this is a visual, and this is to do with the angle constraint. So I'll take those two. Let's use an angle constraint, constrain angle against those. So let's do 40 degrees and hit enter. So we've got this 40-degree angle here. And you notice if I pull it out, we have these lines that connect up. So this makes it a lot easier to find this angle constraint with these lines connected up. And we can pull this down here, you can see we've got a different type of rendering, 140 degrees, bring this back up, and we've got that there. So it's much easier to see how these are constrained with these lines, and we can drag these wherever we want. Now let's have a look at some of the modes that have been added to the rectangle. So if I use the rectangle, you see we have a drop down here, and we've got these modes here. If I click on the rectangle, on the left hand side we've got the rectangle parameters, and we've got the modes which can be controlled via the M key. So here I can hit M and I can place down a different type of rectangle. If you look at the mouse pointer, so where the mouse pointer is, or those crosshairs, if I hit M, you see we changed to a different icon there. Hit M again, you can see the icon has changed. And hit M, we've got that center point one there. And we've got parameters on the end, rounded corners, frame, etc. So I can click rounded corners. I can change this to corner length and width. Let's bring this out a bit and try not to drop this. So corner length and width there. And what I've done is just drop that, hit escape and try again. And you can see we've got rounded corners, and as we move in, we can round those corners off and we get all those constraints added. You notice that I've got these circles, and this is because my visualization is still on. Let's turn that off. And we have that mode there, so we can change the mode to free corner and decide where this one's going to go. So let's bring this one down here and bring this one out here and start to bring in the corners. So these modes here. Now if I hit escape and just highlight these and delete them, let's have a look what other ones we got here. So we've got the circle with this drop down, and you can see we've got the drop down here with the M key that can be changed. So we come along, we got the slot. If I drop this down, we got create slot, create arc slot, and I don't see any differences on the left hand side. We don't have a drop down for that one there. And we've got the polygon tool here, and we've got a drop down here as well. So you can see we've got the different number of sides that we can add here. So we can go for 4, we click, and we've got the 4 sides. Hit escape and set this to 5, and we've got the 5 sides there. So those parameters have been added to most things that have got a drop down along here, and most of them can be set by using the mode, the M key on the keyboard. So even the arc there, the center and rim point arc. With some of these drop downs, you'll notice that there's an additional type of geometry in here. So this slot geometry, we have a create arc slot, which allows us to create a slot that is arc based, like so. We got that one there. Let's escape that and delete what we got. So this works by selecting the tool, and first of all we need the center point. So I'm going to place a center point here, and this will create a circle that's going to be followed by the slot geometry. So we come out with a circle, click once, and then we start creating that slot geometry where we want to place this. And you notice that because I've got those on the fly constraints, I can set the angle of where that's going to go just by typing in. So let's go for 180 degrees, hit enter, and we've got 180 degrees. And then I can drop that, say, down to 60 millimeters. I right click to get the mouse pointer back, and you can see the constraint. The radius of 60 millimeters has been dropped in there. And the 180 degrees for the angle. Remember, the M key cycles through the different types. So if I wanted, rather than radius, I wanted the diameter, we can use the M key to change that when we're using that on the fly dimensioning. An offset tool has been added as well. So if I take this, we look along our toolbar, we've got this one here, which is offset geometry. If I click that, we can start offsetting this geometry. So this is one thing that's been wanted in FreeCAD for quite a long time. So rather than using any macros or using any cloning, then changing the size of the clone, the scaling in there, or using something like a subshape binder and using offset in there, we can actually do it within our sketch now to create the offset that we want, like so, and close that. And we'll center that on screen because we're zoomed right out, and you can see that one there. So if I decided to go into the part and extrude that by 10 mil, we've got that extrusion in there along that offset. Let's just delete that and bring back the sketch. So there are some additional features that are in there. For instance, that the rectangle tool, if we look, we've got the frame mode that's been added. Click that, we can create a frame around the rectangle like so. So click once, bring this out, click once, come in and click, and we get this frame. So that's a new option to the rectangles that's been added. So we've got new modes that have been added to the line tool. So click on the line tool. We've got these modes here: point length and angle, point width and height, and 2 points. We can click and you can see we've got the point, length and angle. And the bottom you can see showing the angle there. I can place an angle in there. We change the mode to point width and height and click. We've got the width and the height and the point there. And if we change this again to the basic 2 point, which is the basic point to point. Just going to right click to get the mouse pointer back and click on this line and come up to this new icon here. And this is just the toggle construction geometry. The icon has been changed because it was very similar to the create carbon copy. So we click that, and that's now construction geometry. Click that again and click on it, and now it's back to normal geometry. The icons themselves in the sketch have had an overhaul. So they are all consistent colors, line widths, sizes, etc. Makes it easier on the eye. And there are other features in here that I haven't got in this version. But if you look back at the release notes, there's such features as the polar transformation, which allows rotations and circular patterns of sketch geometries. So with all these new sketcher enhancements and tools, I'm really looking forward to the new release of FreeCAD. If you want to try that release, then you're going to have to install the weekly builds. And I have a video on my channel that will include in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and use those. Just remember that they're the dev versions, so there will be some bugs in there, but the more people that test it, the better, and can commit those bugs back into the system. If you're interested in some of the generic features in FreeCAD in the new versions, then look back at another video that I've included in the description that will go through those generic features. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope to see you again in the new one. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0, or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content. and that's at patreon.com/Mango Jelly Solutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. I thank everybody that's donated so far. It really helps to keep the lights on so I can produce more content and also expand the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing to these videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.